Hello and welcome to a special episode where I'm going to take you through a very vital part of being a band. I'm going to take you through a 1 year plan, so that is going to be for 2016. Okay, so let's take it through one release. So for this entire year, you're only going to have one release. Let's say that it's an EP, because that kind of makes sense. Not big enough of a band to be doing an album. You don't want to just do one single per year, so let's do an EP. So the logical place that I'd probably say to put it would probably be the end of September. If you're taking it from the fact that you're releasing the EP in September, that gives us a full 9 months of preparation for it. So I'm going to take you through exactly kind of what you need to be thinking about doing in terms of like a time scale. So let's start in early January, February. So that is when you want to be writing the EP. So you want to be leaving quite a decent amount of time between writing the EP and recording it and then releasing it, because there's a lot of preparation and lead up that if you miss out on, you won't have as good a release as maybe as what you might want. So you're writing for January, February. So think about maybe demoing around February, March time. That's not essential, and it can be recorded all by yourself. You can do it in your bedroom. That's not an issue. All you want is just something where you've got you can listen back to it. Maybe even setting up a mic in a practice studio, something like that would work, where you can just listen back to it without having to play it, so that you can just focus on listening to your music and really sussing out what should go where, that song's rubbish, that song's good, that kind of stuff. So you want to be taking the writing process into even after that. So you've got demoing and you can really kind of narrow down the tracks that you want. You want to be doing that after you're demoing, so finalised tracks. So if you've got demoing and then you've got your track list being kind of finalised by March, that is the time in April where you probably want to be starting to like really perfect your stuff. So if you've got the finalised tracks, then you can spend an entire month just working on those tracks and really getting them to the point where they are ready to be recorded. Maybe coming in with extra guitar parts that you're going to put onto the CD version that you can't play live. Little extra vocal bits that could be worked in that maybe your backing vocalist doesn't want to do, but you want your actual lead singer to do on the CD. That kind of stuff. That is where in April, that's where you really want to be doing that. Next thing, you're obviously going to want to start recording. You're going to want to go into the studio. So these are the two important recording parts. So the demoing, where you can really kind of listen back to your tracks and really get a gist on what music it is that you're making, and then you've got almost like a month and a half gap where you can really perfect them. You want to really be able to see a difference between the studio version of the song and the demo version of the song. It needs to be better, so that there's little things that you will pick up on when you listen back to the songs that you don't pick up on when you're just playing them in a practice studio. So if you've got this time to really perfect the tracks, then you're gonna be in a really good position in the studio with some really great tracks. If you miss out this demoing process, yes, you might have some good tracks, but if you stick demoing, then you're really going to get some good tracks, because you're going to get a better gist on what your music actually sounds like. For demoing, especially get other people listening to them. Get as many people as possible listening to the demos and giving you feedback. Feedback. I'm sorry about my awful handwriting. That will happen at some point. But if you get feedback, then that will make the studio stuff better. Okay, sorry about that jump cut. The battery nearly died in the camera, so I had to swap it over. This probably looks a little bit different, but I hope that's okay. Okay, so you're in the studio, and this is the critical point. All of this is just leading up to the studio time. So this is where this is the main bit. You don't have any of this. You don't have anything that we're going to talk about if you don't have a good EP. This can be delayed. This can be delayed until here, and then you can release later the next year. If you're not happy with the stuff, do not stick to the schedule. If all of this has gone to pot and you haven't got the right amount of songs, you only had 4 tracks to demo, and then you're going to use the same 4 tracks here, even though you don't like some of them, bail. Don't stick to the schedule if you don't like what you're making. All of this only works if you're actually making good quality stuff that you really like. Right, okay, so let's say that you're recording 5 tracks. So let's say that you're recording it in May and you want to get it back in June, or at least at the end of June, looking at July. So this is going to be the mixing period. At this point, this is where you're looking at really building up to the release. You've got the mixes back and you are looking to actually get something done. This is all behind the scenes, not in the public eye. Obviously social media, that kind of stuff can be done over this, but this is where it really starts to build. So what do? We don't want to just release an EP. We don't want to just go, here's an EP. So what do? Let's split these 5 tracks into 2 singles. So you've got the top single. This is what you see released all the time. You have one single out of an album that is just the best. It's the thing that gets radio play. It's the one. Let's release that a month before. So, what kind of makes sense is, along with the lead single, we have a music video released. That's the big one, but ideally we want a little bit more than that. So we've got this time in June when nothing's really happening. Really, you probably won't be mixing it. It'll be the studio that you're recording in that's mixing it. So you've got June and you've got July where there isn't really anything. So let's populate them. So what we could do is we could do a free single. So if we do a free single, again, apologies for the handwriting, I get that it is absolutely awful. So then we've got almost like this nice little area of releases. You've got 3 months of releasing where you're just leading up to this one big EP release. So what is the best way of promoting these releases? Obviously you've got social media to push things, so you can use a bit of June into July to promote this, and then you've got a little bit to record that, and then you can use the beginning of August to promote that, and then you've got the entirety from there to promote the EP. But what else? There's got to be something else that can really help promote an EP. And there is. Don't worry, I have the answers. We have 2 main things that happens in summer. The first main thing is that people will probably go to gigs more. Number 2 is that people go to festivals. Let's make the most of that. So let's, in June, there's nothing happening. You haven't done anything really for a year. So let's, in June, have a big summer gig. So we've got the big summer gig here, but we don't really have anything gig-wise here. That is good, because here, this is festival season. So festival season runs from like maybe a bit of June. It depends kind of what festivals are on. I'm going to move that light because it's well in your way. So we've got a little bit of festival happening in June, but the main meat of it happens in July and August. The only problem with this is you need to be applying for your festivals in January. This is going to be a very messy thing by the end of it. Ideally, you want to be doing this maybe electronic, not on a big sheet of paper like this. This is just so I can do it at the exact same time that I'm talking to you about it. It's weird because the first thing that you might actually, in the year, like one of the first things that you're doing is actually applying for festivals that's going to fit into your plan of releasing an EP before you've even demoed it. And I get that that's maybe a weird way of working, but it's kind of the only way that you're going to get onto these festivals. Joe's just made a really good point of how can you apply for festivals if you don't actually have anything recorded yet? And that is a really good point. These festival slots are not going to be amazing because you're going to have to promise the music that you're making is good. There is no way, unless you wait to send demos in February, March time, there is no way of them knowing exactly what you sound like. And maybe sending bad recordings isn't the best idea because maybe it doesn't actually capture the sound that you're going for. Granted, a studio will, but applying at this time is way too late. Everything for these festivals will be finalised by about April time. So granted, you're not going to get an amazing slot at the festival, but anything is better than nothing. There are some festivals like Tramlines in Sheffield, for example, where there are some stages that are filled all day. If you get an early slot, you're still going to get a lot of people seeing you. It's about cherry picking where you apply for and trying to get in with the right people. If you're already in talks with these people in the industry, which we are going to go through, interacting with people in the industry. In the industry series that we have, that is going to be something that I'm going to talk about. They aren't going to be amazing festival slots, but they're going to be better than nothing. Do apply for them. And if you don't get anything back, you don't get anything back. We can work with it, especially this big summer gig. If you can get a lot of people to this gig, then you can get people interested in you, ready for this. If you can get emails off people for a mailing list, then you can email them the free track and go, here is the free track straight to you because you're on our mailing list. But that's not all for gigs. There's going to be one main gig. The one gig that you're going to want to pack out more than the big summer gig. And that is here, right here. Of everything that's happened in this year, your one chance to grab as many people's attention and force them towards this EP is this gig. How iTunes releases work is that they will put the releases out on a Friday. An optimum day for gigging is a Friday, so this works really well. Even if you're not using iTunes, if you're using Bandcamp or using anything, it doesn't matter. You can release on a Friday and have a gig on a Friday. Be preparing for this gig maybe when this is happening. Be booking the venue so that you can have the exact venue that you want and you can have the right crowd that you want. If you have these 3.5 months to prepare for this gig, you can almost guarantee that you can get exactly what you want from it. You can have press and radio talking about it leading up to it. Because you've got these 2 singles, you can upload them to, say, a BBC introducing uploader, and you can have them pick it out, play it, maybe even talk about this gig. That's not all. What do a lot of bands do once they've released something? They do a tour. Granted, for a small band, tours are pretty much out of the question. They're unfundable. They are not ideal for a small band to be doing. I get it, you dream of having a tour. Let's leave that in the dream. But what can we do? So we've got this October kind of time when gigs are still going on, the music scene is still kind of alive. November, December is pretty much a no-go. It kind of just dwindles away. People stop caring as much in November, December, especially if you're in a place where it gets cold. So in October, what we can do is we can have something like a mini tour. We've promoted over the past few months, we've promoted not gigging too much in your city. So let's say you're from Sheffield, like we are. So this gig will be in Sheffield. This gig will be in Sheffield. This will be like a run of gigs over a few weeks. All of these gigs in this mini tour, they don't have to be next to each other. You don't have to sleep in a van. You can come home. It doesn't matter. Don't necessarily call it a tour if you're designing a poster. Just have it as a run of gigs. Just have it as some shows. Go to places that you don't normally play. Try and get involved with promoters that are out of the city, that are from the places that you're wanting to play, and try and get them involved to really push the gig so you can get some big local act from that area to play with you, and they can bring people, and you can maybe do a home show. Maybe they play the release gig, so you bring a crowd for them, and then you go to them and they bring a crowd for you. This is your opportunity to really promote this EP to other people, to people who don't already know you. This release gig, it's great. You get to promote it to your friends, your family, maybe some local people who really like your music, maybe some local promoters. But this is where you get out there. This is where you go to a new city, to a new town, and promote your music to them. Okay, that's it for gigs. So you've got this big summer gig, you've got a release gig, and you've got a tour. That's all that you really need to be doing for, let's say, this amount of the year. This is pretty much a no-go. Nothing really happens in this time. There's nothing interesting happening there. Same kind of goes for January and February. Let's just cross that off. Don't do anything really there. People are not interested. People don't want to go out. It's cold. The music industry basically dies. If you're from somewhere like California, or I know we have a lot of viewers in Texas, this is different. If you happen to have a scene that buzzes all the year, then by all means do stuff. This is just for places that maybe get cold. Like, we are from one of these places, which I guess why we mention it. What else can we do promotion-wise? We have gigs to help promote, and we have social media that should be running it all year long. What else can we do? One very good thing to do is run a competition. So let's say we run a competition across July, August, and September. Okay, so we have this competition. What we can do is we could maybe get some physical CDs for the release of the EP. So maybe alongside the fact that you're putting it out on iTunes or putting it out on Bandcamp, you could also have some physicals. Try ordering the physicals around this time, so that they get here in time, and if there's any problems, you can send them back and get everything sorted. Always prepare. Okay, so what could you do as a competition? So maybe you could, on Facebook, post a picture of a load of sweets and a few of the EPs. Obviously, you're going to need the physical EPs for the photo, so you can't start the competition until you've got the EPs. Have a photo of the sweets and the EPs, and write a post about competition, write in capital letters. We are running a competition to win all the goodies that are in this picture. If you share this post and like our page, then you are automatically entered into this competition. This, if it's done right and you share it among your friends and have everybody enter, this can get a lot of people involved. People who've never heard of your band, they see the competition, they think they'll enter it. All of a sudden, they're slightly invested in your band. They check you out. They maybe check out maybe you put a demo online. Maybe you did something like that. I'm not saying I'm recommending it, because maybe putting demos online is a bad thing. But maybe you did. Maybe you've got some tracks that you've recorded previously. Maybe you've got some live tracks. You could do some live studio sessions here. When you're in the studio, maybe you could record a video of you in the studio just to get people interested. That is where this competition comes in. People start getting interested in you. People start checking you out. They start looking at things that you're doing. Especially these two singles. So you've got this competition going. People are going over to your Facebook page, your Twitter page, whatever social media you are on, run a competition on it. This isn't a must. You don't have to run a competition. It's just a good idea. They're coming over to the page. They're looking at the free single. They're getting the free single because it's free. Why wouldn't they? Maybe they're looking at the new music video that you've just released. Then everything that you have here should be looking at this. So when you release the free single, maybe in the post that has the free single on it, you're pointing people towards this. This free single is from our EP that is coming out September 29th. On the music video, in physical text, once the video is finished, EP, insert the EP name here, out September the 29th. In the competition, a chance to win all these sweets and our EP that's out September 29th. Everything is leading up towards this. At this gig, you are promoting this release. At these singles, these videos, you're promoting this. All this year is promoting this. That makes people excited for it. If you don't mention it too much here, that's fine. Because as you gradually get closer and closer, you want to be mentioning it more and more and more. So people can't avoid it. People know that on this day, your EP is coming out. And that's how you build a buzz, and that's how you get people involved in what you are making. And that is how you design a year plan. We could even start it again. Start writing some material and repeat. That is a 1 year plan, and that's how you do it. Go make one, go share it. Share it with us. We might even help you with it. Email it to us. That's how you do that. That was a 1 year plan. See you later.